What we do here is go back.
Hey, there it is. We are in Blender 1.0. Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Greg Blends, and in today's episode we're going to be playing with the very first ever version of Blender. In fact, this is such an early version of Blender, it doesn't even have a version number. It's just called Blender Dev. This little colored bar here is usually where it would say like Blender 2 point something or whatever. This is just Blender Dev. This is the very first version. Now, I did play a little bit with this beforehand, but not a lot. Most of the exploring I'm going to do today is going to happen right now in front of you. And then later on in the video, I'm actually going to try to make something that I guess I'm proud of with this. So one thing that I do want to share with you guys is, I'm going to quit out of Blender for a second, is if you watched my previous video, basically the problem was that it would say can't find button image, and we dived into the source code. We found where this line was coming from, but I couldn't figure out how to get it to have that button image file. But luckily, a viewer said, I just did some reverse engineering of the IRIX version of Blender, and it seems like it expects the Blender button file to be in user people blend directory. Try to create this directory and put the file from Blender 1.46 there. That's what I did, and it worked. I couldn't believe it. And so I did some research. I believe this name is pronounced Nikita Utkin. Sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but Nikita, thank you so much for figuring this out, because I'm pretty sure this is the first time Blender 1.0 has probably been run in decades. Like I discussed in the previous video, that file on blender.org hasn't been updated since like 2004 or something, and it is missing files. It's missing that Blender buttons file. So yeah, we got it working, and I could not have done it without you. Thank you so much. And since recording the previous video, I did pass 100 subscribers. So this is kind of also a 100 subscriber special. I don't know if YouTube does anything for that. If they send you like a letter and like a play button made out of Play-Doh or something, or maybe like a play button made out of cardboard, something like that. But anyways, so yeah, so it says put this file in this directory. And one other thing that I discovered in the meantime is this Blender buttons file, which we have here. I thought, well, what is this? This is probably like a bitmap or something. So I just put .bmp there, and then I tried to open it, and whoops, it gets an error. But then if I go to open with IrfanView, it says, warning, this file is a TGA file or a Targa file with an incorrect extension. Rename? Sure. And there you go. So the Blender button file is an image file with all the graphics for the UI, and that's all that was missing. The only thing stopping us from running Blender 1.0 was it needed this data, and so I guess this is version 2 of the file. If I'm reading this correctly, it was from December 29th, 1994. But I love that that we figured this out, and it was just this file was pretty much all that we needed. So let's go back into the system, and as you can see here, I created that user people blend directory, and I put that file in there. The same file that I just showed you on Windows 10 is just chilling right here in our IRIX system, and it works. We can now launch Blender. And so I'm just going to iconify these windows, and here's our Blender window. So let's just go ahead and open up Blender. I can't believe it. This is so cool. And, you know, to be clear, Blender did have a little bit of history before this version. Originally, there was a program called Traces for the Amiga, as well as SGI, I believe. And I may pursue trying to run that in a future video, but this is the first version when it was actually called Blender. Now, like I said, I did a little bit of exploring, not a whole lot. This looks a lot like my first version of Blender. I probably started Blender in like 2001 or so, and it still looked a lot like this. I was probably 2.3 or thereabouts. So I'm already familiar with this a little bit. Of course, I haven't used Blender looking like this in over a decade. I remember when Blender 2.5 came out, and I was like freaked out by the UI overhaul. But I used to use Blender when it looked like this, so I already kind of looked around here. Like, for example, here's like the materials menu, the textures menu, the world menu, the edit menu, the light menu, like a lot of the stuff like the layer system. We had this layer system all the way up until 2.8 with like 20 fixed layers. A lot of these buttons are actually the same. Now for example, this one is the wireframe button, and then you can kind of scroll over to like the solid shaded button, for instance. Here we have like scale, rotate, move based on origin, 3D cursor, individual origins, or something like that, center point, I'm not sure. These little buttons like will maximize a window, and then you can click it again to go back to like the grid menu. And I forget what the shortcut for that is in Blender now, but I don't think there's a button for it anymore. But anyway, so I already played around with this a little bit, but I haven't really done much. I just kind of like poked around, and so let's actually try to do something with this version of Blender. So I guess the first thing is, what options do we have? So I did check, so it has autosave. Can I turn this on? Okay, I'm going to turn that on because I highly suspect that this is going to be pretty buggy. I expect we're probably going to have a lot of crashes, so let's just have this save every minute. And I did check that we do have this directory, so hopefully we will get autosave going there. I don't know what any of this stuff does. Lamp. What are these buttons doing? Okay, I don't know what that is, but I did find out now. I don't know how to split windows. I can right click here and say join, but if I hold like shift, or if I hold control, or if I hold alt, like so this menu is part of IRIX, the operating system. So if I say like lower, it'll push Blender in the background, and then if I say raise, it just brings it to the foreground. So that's part of the operating system. But yeah, I have no idea how to split windows, but I can join them apparently. So let's like try to, okay, so the middle mouse button is still rotate. Shift, middle mouse is still pan, and you can see like the UI really freaks out down here when I try to do that. The numpad still works, so 1 is still front, 7 is still top, 3 is still side. I wonder if, okay, so that's, yeah, okay, so if I hold shift, 1 goes to the back, or 1 normally goes to the front, so that's, all that stuff is the same. Now, if I push space, it brings the add menu, and in Blender 2.5 onwards, it brought up the search menu, and now in Blender 2.8 it plays like an animation, but here we have the add menu, so we can go mesh, cube, and that's a difference. It doesn't have a default cube. It starts with just nothing. I actually configured my Blender 2.8 to start with nothing, but there was no default cube in Blender 1.0. Another interesting thing is that it goes directly into edit mode, and tab still goes between the two, which is really cool. Of course, right click to select. G is still grab. Can I lock X? I'm pushing X, Y. Okay, so it doesn't look like, okay. So it doesn't look like we can lock to an axis, and it doesn't look like right click will let me cancel. So escape. Okay, so I have to use escape. Let's go to front view. So grab Z. So yeah, I can't lock to an axis. That wasn't invented yet. Control. Okay, control still snaps. That's nice. That's handy. And then escape to cancel. Tab. Let's go. Let's just move this above the floor. So we have our nice little cube. What else do we have in here? So we have plane, cube, circle, UV sphere, icosphere, cylinder, tube, cone, grid. What's a grid? And I get add, duplicate. Huh. So noticeably missing, there is no Suzanne. There's no monkey. And there's no Taurus, so I can't do the Blender Guru donut tutorial because I can't add a Taurus. Of course, I can still make a donut, but I can't do it with the Taurus. What do we have in view? We have load view, move camera, center, home, hierarchy. Huh. Wonder what that does. Nothing. All right. Edit. Okay, so I guess this will be our controls. So we have, so G, R, S are still grab, rotate, scale, like you're used to in Blender. No idea what size view is. One thing that I did figure out is that the C with a pipe means control. So like shear would be control S, I'm guessing. Let's try that, control S. Okay, it's not doing anything. Let's maybe try an edit mode, control S. Okay, yeah, so it does like a shear thing. And then escape. Okay, so exit edit mode. And one thing I should mention is that this system is running super slow. It's emulating this IRIX operating system, and it's not running at full speed. So a lot of times I have to push keys multiple times, and like a lot of times if I click or double click, like it doesn't fire. It doesn't see the click there. But anyway, so let's see what else do we have. We have right. So what was that? So I think A means Alt, C means Control. If I'm following this, A means Alt, and I think, so like S, this is a lowercase s for size, but Snap menu is a capital S, so that's like Shift S. Right, so I held Shift for that one. So S is Scale, which works like you'd expect, but then Shift S is the Snap menu. So what else do we have here? Right, so what does Alt S do? I have no idea what size view means. Clear size, apparently. I'm guessing, okay, so if I make it bigger and then I hit clear size, is that, okay, interesting. So that's like, okay, can I do, nice. Okay, so N, which would be like the menu in Modern Blender. I was, you know, in Modern Blender you push N and like a thing appears on the side and lets you do the sizing, but that's really cool. Like, okay, this is what I was looking for. Obviously, in Modern Blender, when that menu appears on the side, it has like your plugins and like other things. But here it's just location. I guess we could, well, that's very sensitive. Okay, holding Shift will make it, okay, it doesn't, okay, I see. So you have to, okay, so how would I clear location? Would that be like Alt-G? Nice, all right. So Alt-S is clear scale, Alt, so I guess if I rotate it, then I do Alt-R, clear rotation. Okay, interesting. Oh, but I want to put it back up now. Nice, I love how like this feels so natural. Like this is like 20, I don't know, 4 years old or something like that. And like this program is like legally able to drink. And a lot of my muscle memory for Blender is just actually just working flawlessly. All right, so that's what the Alt-S does. What's interesting is that it doesn't have, or at least not in this menu, it shows, well, that's interesting. It's called Size View, but when I do Alt-S, it says Clear View, or it says Clear Size. So actually, I don't know, maybe that doesn't mean Alt, maybe that means something else. I don't know. What do we have? We have two object menus. Clear matrix, clear rotation. Okay, so that's called clear rotation. What does clear origin do? Let's try it. Alt-O, clear origin. Didn't look like that did anything. Alrighty then. What else we have? Make parent is Control P. Clear parent is Alt P. I don't know what tracks are. I assume that might be for animation. I'm a display list. I'm a aspect. I don't know what these are. All right, what is this? Edit mode is tab. We already figured that out. Okay, move to layer is still M. I mean that it's still M now. It's just called move to collection. But in like 2.79 or whatever, it would use that system. So X is delete. Delete all. Interesting. Is that just like file new or something? Apply size. Okay. Control A still for apply. Wow. So many of these shortcuts are just like what I'm already familiar with. Control J for join. Fit space. No idea what that is. Rename. Huh. Control R. So if I want to rename this cube, that just rotates. Exit, exit, exit. Okay. I don't know what that means. Where was that? That was, yeah. That's CR, right? Control R. Don't know what that means. What do we have in mesh? Okay, so L is still select link. So Shift L, because the capital L is diesel link or deselect link. E is extrude, delete menu. Didn't we have delete over here? I guess it's just this one's for, oh, because this one's for like edit mode or something. Fill or face is oh, okay, so lowercase f is, I assume that means make, so make edge face. So fill would be like, yeah, so I think it's still the same today, right? You can do Shift F for filling like a selection. Undo reload is U. Calculate normals is Control N. Okay, separate is still P. Separate. I think it was, I don't know, it was like, was it Blender Guru who was like, I don't know why P is for separate. Well, it's because there's a P there. It's like separate, right? That's how I think of it, at least. Right video scene source. I have no idea what that is. Probably not going to play with curves too much. I don't even play with them in modern Blender. Keying. So animation. I guess, you know, we can do animation here. I'm not going to do animation, but I guess we could. Render is still F12. That's nice to see. F11 for render video or window. And they even have the render border. Nice. And then div is, okay, so, so div is where we have our file stuff. We can execute a script, but we can also load, append, save as, save image. Why is it called div? Like, you'd normally think that's like divide or, I don't know. Like, shouldn't this just be called file or something? And then, like, yeah, in edit, you have, like, quit. Shouldn't that be with all these things? I don't know. But that's not, it's not too bad. I think we can work with this. This is surprisingly, like, a lot of the keyboard shortcuts I've... Oh, let's... Okay, so Z should go to solid mode. Does it? Oh, it does. Nice. But the... wait. Yeah, the grid disappears in solid mode. I remember when I was learning Blender in high school in like 2001, my friend showed me the Z key, and I was like, whoa, that's so cool. You can just like go between solid and wireframe. And yeah, it's apparently been here since version 1. Shift S, I'm guessing this would be rendered mode, but it's just showing black for now. So let's play with, I'm going to try to render a cube. Well, okay, so let go. Come on. My mouse got like stuck on. I'm going to try to render a cube, and let's give it a color. And I also brought some, yeah, I'm going to give it, let's render a cube with a texture, because I did copy a JPEG over to this system just to see if textures would work, if we could play with textures. So let's do that. So I'm going to go to side view. I'm going to rotate this cube a bit. I'm going to go to top view. I'm going to rotate it this way. I'm going to add a lamp. I love how this just feels like using Blender. It's like, yeah, it's slow. It's like from a million years ago, but just, you know, it feels like Blender. Solid mode. All right, let's right click select, go to materials. And like this, you know, a lot of people, you know, especially using Blender these days, have started after the interface looked like this. But I did start back in the day when it still looked like this, and I remember that this is how you add a material. And then we can go over here, MTL QB Boy. Very professional names. And then I'm going to make it teal, which is like my favorite color. If you've seen my website, gmiller.net, you know there's teal everywhere. Now what's interesting is this preview is like way brighter than the actual. So this is like the material preview, but this is just like the raw color. Okay, I'm happy with that. So, oh nice. Okay, so I just rotated and then it updated. So if I were to like crank this, nothing happens, but then when I rotate, okay, so I guess like the next time it tries to paint or something. All right, let's put that back to there. Nice. All right, now the way that textures used to work is you have these texture slots for each material. So each material you'd have, what is this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you'd have 8 of these slots. And then you go over to here, just like we went to this little dot thing to add the material. You'd go here, add new. Wow, it's been so long since I thought about. I guess this is Blender internal renderer. This is obviously there's no cycles yet. So the file that I copied was wood. So let's just name it that. All right, and so the way that this worked, if I remember correctly, is so this would be a color texture, but you could turn that off and then instead make it a normal texture, so like a bump map. I have no idea what CSP mirror, maybe that might be a mirror, like an environment texture, I'm not sure. Well, that would be reflection. I don't know. But specular was like how shiny something was, like the color of like the reflections on the surface of something. And then hard was like, I guess kind of like we have roughness or smoothness today. It was kind of like that. So like something that was very hard would be shiny like plastic, and something that wasn't hard would be soft. It would be a little bit more dull like cloth or something. So like you could have texture maps. And so, but for example, the wood, we can make the color, right? But then you could go over to here and then load a different texture and then use that as the normal map, which would be like bump, or like the hardness map, or like emission map, or alpha map, or whatever. But I only have one texture, so we'll stick to that. UV, I think we can just do object and choose cube for the textures. Now, can we make this? What does this do? Yes! Oh, but I can't get cube. How do I get cube? I don't know if this version of Blender had it. Like, you used to be able to like preview materials in some version of Blender I used to use. I think you could preview materials as like a cube or something, but stencil, negative, no RGB. I don't know what any of this stuff does. Yeah, so these were like your XYZ like mapping, and these were like built-in excuse me, built-in mapping options. So like they would just kind of like apply spherical unwrap or a cube unwrap to like your objects, so you didn't have to deal with UVs. But anyway, so once you have this texture here, you go over to the texture menu, and so these are those same 8 slots that we saw here. So like, you know, we have these 8 slots here. This would be those, and with text wood we will choose image, load image, and in my Blender directory, where is it? Here it is. Wow, that is so laggy. I made a textures folder and I put wood texture. Let's see if this works. There's no load button, so I guess you just hit enter. Hey, we got a texture, but does it show up? Oh, I should probably save because I don't trust this at all. So I made a folder for scenes, and let's just call this test V001. How's that? Can I, did that save? Let's find out. So if I alt right click and say lower, I can then go to my operating system, because I pushed the Blender one in the back. Let's go to scenes. Now I could double click the folder, but I like using the same window, so. Okay, so there's a file in there. That's cool. Can I go into... So I just want to show you guys a cool thing. Well, first I want to see, so texture, did I call it text? Okay, I'm just going to have to go see what I called it. It'd be really nice if this operating system didn't run at like 1 frame per second. Oh, okay, that's what happened. Textures. So yeah, so what does this look like in the OS? I mean, obviously the image file works, I'm just curious. There we go. Huh. Cool. So there's like a little editor. Oh my. That did not work too well. It really is unhappy. All right, well, we know that it's saved, so let's just bring Blender back to the front, and we're good. And then I should be able to hit, let's see, it's, so save scene as Control W, which is an odd one, but yeah, that works. All right, cool. So let's go into render view. It is still black. All right, well, that's not useful. All right, let's try to render it. Let's use the buttons. No camera. I can fix that. Okay, so space does this. Can I do Shift A? Nice. Okay, so my Blender 2.8 shortcuts, instead of using spacebar to add stuff, I can Shift A. Awesome. Camera. All right, let's frame our shot here. Wow, this is so cool. Like all of the shortcut keys that this looks horrible. All of the shortcut keys that I'm familiar with are just working. All right, so F12, no camera. There's a camera right here. Oh, I probably have to select it. Do you think it's going to be Control 0? It is. All right, let's save again and F12. Oh, well, that is a crash. Let's load this back up here and test if we can load our scene. Div load scene, or F1. Okay, test 1. Here goes nothing. Hey, we're back. Do I still have the teal color? It's just invisible now. That's not a good sign. Okay. Well, we crashed and our cube turned to emptiness. Yep, no idea what's going on there. What if I try to change it to solid with this thing? Huh. I'm going to try to reload again. Because we had, it should have been... What's going on? Oh! Interesting. Okay. So, alright, so if I go to the camera, it won't render because we're in perspective mode. If I push 5 on the keyboard, it goes into ortho, and then it shows up. But if I'm in perspective... Huh. Alright, well, that's a thing. Alright, so it's been about, a half hour of me playing with this. Let's actually try to do something other than just play with this cube. So I posted on Reddit that I got Blender 1.0 working, and someone said, can it actually do anything? I was like, well, it can make a cube. But someone says, I think you need to make a donut. I said, Blender 1.0 nut. And they said, oh my god, yes, a donut tutorial would be amazing. No joke, please do, and link me the video. So I think it's been decided from the Reddit comments that I need to try to make a donut tutorial in Blender 1.0. Now, I'm sure if you are watching this video, you're part of the Blender community. And if you're part of the Blender community, you almost certainly know about Andrew Price's, aka Blender Guru's, donut tutorial. I remember my mind being blown when I first saw the donut tutorial, right when Cycles first came out. I was like, wow, how does Blender look so good? And it was because Cycles. And he recently did the donut tutorial for 2.8, which I did to kind of get my bearings in 2.8. So, not to rip you off, Andrew, if you're watching this, but the crowd has spoken, and I need to make a donut. So this is serious business here. So I'm going to, I'm going to pause and then come back, and we're going to jump in and make a donut, hopefully, in Blender 1.0. Okay, just a quick update. On second thought, because this video is already 30-something minutes long, I'm going to do the donut building in Blender 1.0 in a second part. Of course, I'm going to upload it on the same day as this video, so if you're watching this video, it should already be available. And also, I plan on doing a video where I set up, I show you how to set up this entire environment and install Blender 1.0 on it so that if you want to play with it, you can. This works on Windows 10, and it was, now that we know how to run the code, it's actually pretty easy to set up. So if you want to play with Blender 1.0, that video will be coming, but probably not the same day as this video. Probably in a couple days I'll edit and upload that video. So, but for now, I'm going to stop this video, and I'm going to record part 2, where I hopefully make a donut or something fun in Blender 1.0. Also, remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the notification bell, all that YouTube shenanigans. I would really appreciate it. This is a new channel, so yeah, if you like this, we're definitely going to do some more stuff with Blender 1.0, and I'm also going to try to get traces working, the predecessor to Blender that was still from Not a Number, that was still from Ton Rosendahl, but I might try to play with that in the future as well. But also, I'm going to do Blender tutorials, all that stuff. So like, subscribe, etc. You know the drill. But yeah,